school board meeting in the last year? Okay, good. There's a few of y'all here. Awesome. So I have here, the time is now, and I say this because I've heard many people say, well, I don't know how to get involved. I don't know where to even go to start trying to figure out how to navigate the local systems. And so I've put together this little presentation, and hopefully that it'll help guide you guys along the way to get encouraged to go speak out at your school boards, your local government, because our local government is going to affect our national government. And right now, we're seeing a lot of tyranny that if we had been speaking up earlier, that maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now. And I'm just going to give you a little personal story of what got me to this point, and trying to encourage others to speak out. So back, probably the best thing that ever happened to me is about 17 years ago, I turned off the news. I was a news junkie. I watched it in the morning, I watched it when I got home from work, I watched it when I went to bed at night, and I watched it constantly. And one day, it was during about the Gulf War time frame, I had been watching it. My daughter was like a year and a half, and I thought, this is so depressing. Like, there's nothing ever positive on this. And so I turned it off. It was probably the best thing that I ever did for myself. But it was ironic because in 2020, in March, we kept hearing through the grapevine about this, pandemic, or this COVID. And at this point, I really had heard very little about it. But all of a sudden, my daughter's school was shut down. And never in the history of the United States has the school districts just shut down for an extra 2 weeks to flatten a curve, right? And so I thought, well, that's really bizarre. So I thought, well, maybe I need to be like turning on this news and seeing what's going on, because I felt like I was kind of clueless. And so then, so 2 weeks had started, and about a week after they had shut down her school, my grandparents' facility, they lived in an assisted facility. I was their primary caregiver. And I was their advocate. I was their friend. I went every single day to see them. And it got shut down. And they didn't have their voice any longer. And so I started fighting the system. And I wrote my congressman and their congressman for 49 days straight and got nowhere. And so I started saying, okay, well, maybe I need to be focusing on my local government. So I started going in June. A friend of mine, Janet, we met through this activism, decided to start trying to get people to go speak out at the commissioner's level, because they were locking down the businesses, they were doing the mandates, so we figured that's where we needed to target. Started with three of us. Two of us met, or actually 4 of us. 2 of us had gotten together, decided we'd go. We met Jody there, the first meeting. So it was really great to get another person that was fighting with us. And then another lady that had been kind of been in our circle had showed up, but then got kicked out. So going back, so we had been going from June to September. And I have a medical exemption, and they fought us every step of the way. They wanted us to mask up. They wouldn't let us be in the room with everyone else. We had to be segregated. We were in what we call the Rosa Parks room. And so, so we had been going every week. We showed our medical exemptions. They let us in, but they tried to change it every week. One day it was fine. We just showed our exemption. We're in. 2 or 3 weeks later, they wanted to give us a ticket. Then they took the ticket away and said, "Don't worry about it." Well, back in August, after we had finally grown from about 4 people going to about 12 people going, we decided to hold a Trash the Mask rally. So the last weekend in August, we held this rally and we encouraged people to come. We had people show up, and during that rally, one of the attendees decided that they were going to create an event to have people come to Commissioner's Court, and it took off. And so I introduced myself to him, and I said, "We've been doing this, we'll be there, I'd like to meet with you." So that following Tuesday, when we showed up to Commissioner's Court, we met outside. We said a prayer before we went in because we believe that God's leading us in this battle. And He's going to be our strength going forward. And so we met. We said a prayer. I kind of gave them the rundown. Like, this is what's going to be expected. Either you're going to have to wear a mask or you're going to have a medical exemption because they're not going to let you in without one. Well, I guess they've been following us. At some point, they got wind, I guess, that these people were going to come. And as we're standing out praying and getting ready to go in, I see a litany of sheriff's department coming around the corner, which at this point we had only had maybe 4 or 5 officers at the door. Never had we seen any sheriffs coming out. So they had a big presence there. And so I lead going in. And as I'm leading to go in, I'm stopped at the door by one of the officers at the door, and he looks at me and says, I need to see your medical exemption. And I said, I've been coming since June. You've seen me at this door. I've showed you my medical exemption week after week, and I haven't. And I pulled it out to him. Well, this week they decided they're going to implement the ticket system again. So they handed me the ticket, and they said, if somebody stops you in the hallway, you need to present it. I said, okay, stuck the ticket in my pocket. We go upstairs. At this point, I'm telling people like how to sign in. I'm trying to tell them like, if you don't want to sit in this room, you can come sit back with us. Well, now they're telling them that they can't sit back with us. They have to go in the main room if they have a mask on. So I go into the back room and I set my things down, and I send my friend Janet, who had been started this with me, a message. And I said, Janet, like, we have more people than we've ever had here. This is amazing. And she sends me a message back. She says, I'm running late, that I should be there by 9:45. We have to sign in by 10 to speak. And so by 9:45, Janet wasn't there. And so I was kind of concerned. So I went out to the main lobby to see if she was there, and if not, I was going to get her paperwork so she could fill it out and get it turned in. Well, as I'm turning the corner, I'm stopped by a sheriff. And the sheriff comes out and he says, excuse me, where's your mask? And I said, I'm medically exempt. And of course I'm nervous, and I'm digging in my pocket, and I pull up the ticket and I show him the ticket, and he says, then you need to go back to that room right now. And I looked at him and I said, no sir, I'm looking for my friend Janet. When I find her, I will go back to that room. He then says, no, you're going to go back to that room right now. And I said, sir, I'm looking for my friend Janet, or I'm going to get the paperwork for her, and then I'll go back to that room. I started to head towards the table to get the paperwork, and as I did, he grabbed my arm. Out of being a little bit kind of shocked, I yanked my arm back and I said, don't touch me. Probably not the right thing to say to a police officer, but that's what I said, and going forward, that I know to do different next time. But he grabbed my arm, I yanked it, and at this point, he took my arms and handcuffed me behind my back. And I said, are you arresting me? He doesn't say anything. I said, are you arresting me? Again, he doesn't say anything. At this point, I said, I'm not leaving this building without my things. My purse, my medical documentation, all of that was in the back room. I said, I'm not leaving without these things. So at this point, he calls another police officer over, and they push me down this back wall room to the back, to the hallway to the back room. And these people were in there waiting, and I said, I guess I'm being arrested. And they were shocked. And so the other police officer got my things and took me downstairs. So as I go downstairs, I said, what is happening? I said, I didn't do anything. I said, I'm here to speak out against what's happening. And I followed all your protocols. And of course, at this point, they're still silent. They're really not talking to me. The guy's holding my arm very tightly. I have bruises on my arms. I get downstairs, and as I'm sitting downstairs, he hands me over to 4 more police officers. And he tells them, if she gives you a hard time, you book her. I said, what am I doing? What's happening? They said, we're giving you trespassing warning. I said, well, what did I do? I wasn't trespassing. I had my medical documentation. I showed it to the guy. Y'all let me in. I went upstairs. I simply said I need to get paperwork, and because I didn't go back to the room, I'm now trespassing. He said, are you arguing with me? I said, no, I'm trying to understand. So at this point, they give me a trespassing warning. I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, you can't come back for 24 hours. That's what one of the police officers tells me. I said, okay. So I signed the paperwork and I went, and so I planned to go the next week. So the next week I showed up. I wasn't going to let them scare me, back me down. The next week I show up. There's still a big crowd that had come. And at this point, as I get ready to go in, we said our prayer. We go back to go in, and I'm confronted by the 4 officers that had been there the week before that had given me the trespassing warning. And as I get to the door, they look at me and they say, you can't come in. And I said, well, why can't I come in? And he says, because you have a trespassing warning. I said, but you told me I couldn't come back for 24 hours. Now they've changed it. Now I can't come back for 2 years. So in that, I said, okay, I'm going to build an army, and I'm going to help build that army. And so my challenge to you guys is the time is now to act. I knew then that it wasn't going to get better. I knew that things were going to continue to go before. Yes?
I was just going to say that if they're ever forcing you to sign anything, put without prejudice there. Because put without prejudice, because that nullifies your signature. That's the reason they told you that you can't come back for 2 years, because you agreed to it.
Well, and you know, and I don't know that aspect of it. You know, I'm just a person trying to speak up and fight for our rights.
It nullifies your signature. Any time you're being forced to sign something, everybody should know this. Just put without prejudice there. It means there's no signature there.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'll get with you afterwards so I can get more information on that. So that same day, there was another lady that had been in our group that also was detained. Her name was Andy, and she they ended up putting her in a patrol car and driving her around the city block to release her. She was also given a trespassing warning as well that day. So I knew that this was going to continue. To my knowledge, and I've seen it continue, and I think it's only going to get worse. So we need to be standing up. So what I'm doing today is going to give you some tools to take with you, so you know how to navigate the system moving forward. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. I may have to just manually do it. Okay. So there's a push. There's a push for Marxism. They want to destroy our families. They want to destroy our property. They want to destroy our religion. And they want to destroy our nation. And that's where we're heading if we don't start standing up and acting now.
Right here.
So I thought this was really important perspective. And it's part of our legal system. And so I felt like it was important to put in this. So let's define the right to petition or redress our grievances. The citizens shall have the right in a peaceful manner to assemble together for their common good and apply to those invested with the powers of government to redress for grievances or other purposes by petition, address, or remonstrance. The U.S. Constitution also includes a protection of the rights from the federal government in the First Amendment. So Congress shall make no law abridging this. The right of the people to petition the government for redress of grievances. This is Tom Glass. He's an activist. He is here in Texas, and he's really working with the state at the state level to help secure our rights. But I put this here because our rights to petition the courts were hindered that day. And we have to, as the people, have to say, no, we have that right to petition you. If you're going to trample our rights, you have the right to listen to what we have to say. So I'm going to talk about 3 of the basics. Most of you probably already know this, but I'm going to talk about it in the event that you don't. But what is the function of the school board? The school board members are elected by officials to represent parents and students in our community. And according to the Texas Association of School Boards, governing the school district is the primary role of the school board. School members are guardians of the public trust, and through the policies they make are ultimately responsible for the success or failures of local public education. These policies dictate the standards of philosophies by which schools are run and the criteria used to judge whether they are being run well. The board serves as an advocate for educational excellence for the community youth that puts those interests first. Are they doing that right now? No. What is the biggest hot topic that we're seeing that's being pushed by the schools? CRT. And so we have to, in order
Let's
to
use CRT.
Okay,
Use those words.
Okay, CRT is critical race theory.
Yes, or under different words, it's the same thing, but we've got to learn the key words they're switching around to confuse us.
Right, and
CRT.
there's several other terms now. There's, I think it's ESI, I believe is one. I can't tell you what that stands for. I just recently heard it, but they're throwing out these in our schools, and people don't realize it's happening. And it started back, one of the other things that was, I think that they were trying to do is deter the parents, because they have all these mandates in place, the mask and all of these things, and now going to the trying to push the vaccines on our students. I think they're using that to disguise what they're trying to push in our schools. And so I think it's really important that we are attending those meetings, going and speaking out of those. And so I'm going to kind of show you where to find that information. Some of you may not be in Arlington. I'm going to use Arlington as an example because that's where I'm from. But most of them are very similar in how to navigate. And it can be a little confusing in finding some of that information. So we're going to walk through that in just a few minutes. So we're going to locate the board members, like how you find your board members. That they have legislative priorities. I don't know if you know this, but they back certain legislation actions at the state level. And Arlington shows what they're trying to push. I'm going to show you how to locate the agenda and the date and time. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that screen. Bear with me.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
In support of what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
The national education, the NEA, okay, at the federal level, is the largest labor union run by labor union mafia.
Yes.
So teachers coming in that are excited about teaching, they have to pay their dues, they have to hold the public line, or they don't get jobs. Again, it's the largest union in America.
And they're the ones that are controlling the school board
Policies,
councils.
yes. It's just look at it bigger than local, but
Right.
local is where we take action. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So in this sense, when I go to my school district, it brings up your board members. And I'm going to sit here for a minute. And this is not my computer, so I'm learning how to navigate it, so bear with me. So these are the board members of Arlington, and you'll notice that they'll always have their name, their role, and their contact information. So most of them will have links if you want to email them about a particular subject matter or something that I would encourage you to do that. But not just email them, go to those meetings, hear what they have to say and what's happening. So on this particular page, you'll find all of that information regarding the board members. Okay. Not all of them are laid out the same, but you'll always be able to find those key topics when you're looking for them. So here it talks about board meetings. Okay, so our meetings are listed. Their calendar is kind of, I think it could be better, but that's okay. So this is how they list their date of meetings. And here is where you will find the agenda. So the next meeting will be on 8/19, and typically it's about 3 or 4 days before the meeting is when they'll release the agenda. So I'll just pull up this agenda so you can kind of see what it looked like. I went to this meeting recently, so they'll pull it up, and if you want to speak, most districts have a time frame or a policy in which you have to follow in order to speak. Nowadays, you don't just show up and say, I want to speak. With Arlington, and I'll show you here, Arlington tells you it starts at 5. Well, that's going to be a closed meeting. So typically they'll meet in closure where you can attend, but then they'll come about 6 o'clock and you can they'll start the open meeting at that point. So during that time, the day of, you have to register to speak by 3 o'clock. And in order to speak, you have to email this lady here, lbenjamin at aisd.net. So you have to email them, say, I want to speak on this agenda item. So what I did when I went to this last school board meeting, I emailed her, and I looked here at the agenda, and basically it says, and I was speaking on the mask mandates, so I'm going to scroll down here, and it says, discussion actions, COVID-19 school operation update. Well, I had gotten wind that they were going to try to reinforce masks, and so I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen. It was a person had contacted me and said, we need a call to action. We want to make sure that that they don't push this again. So we showed up, and thank goodness they had it on the schedule, and they were going to not implement them right now. Now, if Governor Abbott flips the switch, they're probably going to push it. But right now, they're not going to. But there was we did a call to action. I'm working with True Texas Project and helping to build their liaison program. And so I put out a conversation piece to Fran, who is the CEO, or president, sorry, not CEO, president. I put a message out to her and said, can you help us get people there to speak out? And so she emailed and helped us get people, and we had probably about 40 people show up to the meeting. Not 40 people spoke, probably about 4 or 5 of us spoke, but we had support there to show that we had numbers. Okay, so basically when you go to the agenda, most school districts will have where they're listed on their website, but Arlington likes to hide it because, well, they don't want parents showing up. So you will find all their information listed in the agenda, not on their webpage. So you'll find where the meeting is, the time, and then and how to register to speak. Let me see. Maybe look at my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting something. Let's go back here. Okay, I wanted to show you that you can find their legislative priorities. So Arlington lists what they're trying to get pushed through Austin. And one of the first things they have is COVID-19. So they're trying to push an agenda with COVID-19. And when you click on that, it'll give you more information. So they're wanting allocated state funds to ensure public education is not disrupted due to financial hardships created by COVID-19, which that tells me that they're wanting to get funding so that they can offer more online schools, because right now Arlington is not able to do that because they're not getting that funding. It has funding. House Bill 3, we know that House Bill 3 was not the best bill. And then they have mental health, health insurance, accountability, and local authority. And you can dig into some of those, but I can tell you some of these are not the best legislative priorities. So you'll want to kind of look into that. And those are hot topics that I would encourage you, when they are brought up in those meetings, that you're pushing back on. Do you have any questions about the school board part of it?
I noticed that sometimes you can call the day before and get on a list to speak to.
Yeah, you can call. It depends on the district. So the district may say, call us the day before. Every district's going to be a little bit different. Arlington, you have to email. But other districts, they may have you call. So just look for that information and just know how to do it, because I know several people just showed up thinking they could speak or sign in to speak, and they won't let you. They used to before all of this mess. So that's the like the nitty-gritty of the school board. So let's look at city council. All right, so I'm going to use Arlington as my example for the city council. So to find the city council members, you're going to go to the member link. And again, your websites are going to look a little bit different, but you're going to be able to find all of this information on your city council. So when I click on this will members, it'll tell me who our mayor is. We just got a new mayor, Mayor Jim Ross. Nah, that's how I feel. And then we have,
Well, that's how you really feel.
yeah, I won't sugarcoat any of it. So then we have our district seats. And so when you click on those people, it's not real evident, but it will send you to their personal phone number and email. So it's not always like intuitive, but if you just kind of play around with it, you'll find it works pretty easy after you've done it a couple of times. So this is just kind of an example. It has a link to her email. You'll just need to know your district number, who represents you. She's my district 1. All right, so going back, need to go back to her. This is not real easy to navigate. Okay, so next, once we go to find out who our reps are, you can go and find the schedule of meetings. So this page is really easy to use. Some of them are not. I've helped several people navigate their city's website, and sometimes it's cumbersome. So looking here, you can find their agenda. And it's similar to that of the school board. You can look and find their attachments here will be their upcoming meetings. And it'll give you general information, and then 8:10 is their regular meeting. Now, I know the city, they will have a meeting during the day sometimes, and then but that's just for their time frame. But you can go and sit and listen. You just can't participate or ask questions. And then in the evenings is when you can go and discuss things. But here we'll see that they're discussing the budget. We want to know what are you putting in the budget? Why are you spending a certain amount of money on certain things? I know that some of them are COVID related. I know during back in March and April, there were things being like drones. They were approving drones to be put in at a city level so that they could monitor things. And that was being used with CARES money. So we need to be asking, like, what are you using this CARES money from COVID for what are you using that in our city planning? So that's how you would get to the agenda. And then, when we go back, then there's the location. So where do they meet? So if, oh, took me back to Arlington. Meeting process. Okay, here it'll tell you how to make public comments. You can click on this information and it will tell you what their process is. You'll have to give them your name and it'll tell you what time you have to be there in order to meet. And their location is at 101 West Abrams. If you're in Arlington, I encourage you to go and be there at those meetings. The agendas are posted for Arlington 72 hours in advance. So you've got 3 days before the meetings. So I would just say, look and see what time the next meeting is, and then follow up with 3 days in advance to get that information. Where the PowerPoint went. Just kind of went away.
Put them at plus up there. See the plus up with this.
Just as I guess when I click out of it,
Yeah, I see that.
okay. All right, so Tarrant County Commissioners, I'm not going to go through the whole thing on the website because my time's coming up, but I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of rundown on the commissioners, because a lot of people think that in order to be a county judge, you have to have a law degree, and I will tell you that Judge Whitley is not a lawyer. He is an accountant. That's his background. He owns several large accounting firms, 3 that I know of. One is in Houston, one is in Fort Worth, and I can't remember the other one, but they're all in Texas and they're really large. So they're not, and what's ironic, because he's an accountant, Tarrant County is in the red. So he's not budgeting well at all. So the county commissioner courts are made of elected members that we, the people, vote into office to uphold our local constitutional rights. Commissioner courts is in charge of adopting and approving county budgets, setting tax rates. Are you happy with our tax rates? Guess what? They have a bond that was just announced that they're about to raise our rates, and you're going to be able to vote on it. So I'm telling you, vote no for that bond. It's coming up in the next election. It was just released yesterday. Filing vacancies and appointing officials, maintaining buildings, roads, and parks, constructing roads and bridges that are not part of the state highway, setting salaries, expenses, allowances, and appointed officials, and overseeing courthouse, jails, and libraries. Does any of that tell you that they can mandate our liberties? Does any of that give you any indication that they can take away our freedom to speak out or to choose whether we want to wear a mask or not? Does any of that give them a role in anything that I just listed?
No.
No. But are they doing it? Yes. So I put this here so that you can see what it is that they are supposed to be doing, not what they're not supposed to be doing. unconstitutional mandates and bad practices that they're doing is mask mandates on businesses, school restrictions, approval of contact tracing, approval of COVID concentration hotels. This happened at a meeting that we were in. They approved for a hotel in Fort Worth to become a COVID isolation hotel. I'm going to guarantee you at some point they're going to utilize that. They haven't yet, but it'll happen.
Is that what they're calling the green zones?
Probably. I don't know, but I just know that this was adopted at one of the meetings we were at.
Which hotel was it?
I'll have to look it up. I don't remember. I just remember that they were going to buy a hotel using city
Hotel
money
hell.
for it. So,
What was the purpose of that?
for isolation of COVID, for people that can't isolate at home.
Sounds like another kind of jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And choosing to make public policy based on one person's false stand-up to push an agenda. Let me tell you that the guy that they have, Vinny Tanasia, is not a doctor. He has not had his medical license here. He does have some medical training in India, but it equivalates to being an undergrad medical doctor. He hasn't gone through the process. He was an undergrad. He came here and he got his license in public health. He is not a doctor, and he's advising people on health matters. And so I'm telling you that because you need to research that. I've spoken to attorneys, I'm like, what can we do? They're presenting him as a doctor. They've called him Dr. Tanasia. The problem is he's not a doctor, and he is making policies that are affecting our whole county.
Really?
Yes.
That rubs me all the wrong
Yeah, in
way.
fact, I was with there several times. They think he's an expert,
And
you know, and
he's not.
he's not even a doctor, and everybody's listening to him.
He's basically an administrator, that's it. Yes.
Who is he connected to? Because something I'm finding, because I've been paying attention to the colleges, because my daughter's going to college, I'm noticing that in all the single colleges, there's always a Bill Gates connection, like in every single, so I'm just wondering.
I have not found a connection with him with it, but I'm sure there probably is. I just know we've dug and he is not, we've actually been called to see if he even has a license. He doesn't even have a license to practice. So, so that's, people need to know that and they need to be standing out on that. Okay, I'm not gonna go through this process unless you really want me to. I know I'm short on time. Do you want me to go through this?
Do we have time? I don't want to interfere with the schedule.
I'm just here to present a 2-hour presentation
Yeah,
that
so we
has
need
a
it.
timing to it. But what you're doing is awesome for this people, but we're gonna be filming my lecture. It's a 2-hour lecture that is fine. I don't wanna cut you short.
Well, it won't take me, I'll just show you kind of how to access it. I won't go into like all the details like I did on the other ones, but basically, if you go to their website, you'll see the commissioners here. You can click on them, it'll take you to emailing them. Where you want to go to find them, and this is, I feel it's really important just to show you that there's a link. It's really hard to see, but you click on this and it will take you to the agendas. It'll tell you how to sign in to speak. I would tell you, and this is where you can view, so the next agenda will show up right here. It's really tiny. Most people can't find it and have a hard time seeing it. So it comes up, it says Commissioner 810. That's where you'll locate the agenda. And you'll just click on the link and it'll bring it up. That's where you can find out what they're speaking on. All of the past ones are here. Where you can click and watch the whole video of it. In order to speak at a commissioner's court, you have to show up by 10 o'clock to sign in. There's paperwork that you have to fill out. It's relatively easy. You just put the agenda name and number and that you want to address the court. And you get 3 minutes to speak. So I'm not a person that wings it very well, so I always have something kind of planned out. I'll look at the agenda, see what it is that I want to speak on, and I kind of write out what I want to say so I can stay on topic. Some people do really good just off the cuff of their sleeve, you know, can get in there and just say what they need to say and effective. I'm just not that way. But you can also call in. I will say it's not as effective, I don't think, unless you're there in person. But you can still call in and get your voice heard. Basically, what you'll do is you submit a form. There's a form on the other page that I was on that you will click on, and you'll fill it out. Unless they've changed it, they may have changed it. But before, you can fill out the form, and that's what I did after they had detained me. I started calling in. I would fill out the form, and then they'll call you when they're in that part of the meeting. So you'll just have to make sure you have your phone readily available and you answer it. And it comes up kind of like unknown number. So you just have to know that they're probably the ones calling you, and you have to answer to be able to speak. Yes.
So are they trying to push the CTO in Tarrant County?
Mm-hmm. CRT, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fort Worth, it's a big issue in Fort Worth, and in Arlington, they're starting to, like, I have a couple teacher friends that have sent me information showing that they're implementing it in
So
Arlington.
are your teacher friends been behind them, or do they just be ramrodded down?
Yeah, the latter, what you
And
just
so
said.
you don't, they don't discuss that at the commissioner's court, that's at the
No,
school board.
that's at the school board meetings. Yeah, that's handled at the school board, yes.
One of my biggest frustrations with the teachers, because I have a lot of teacher friends as well, and my oldest child went to public school, and I don't have my other two in public school because of all this stuff, is the teachers are too afraid of losing their jobs, so they will do whatever they're told to do, is including take experimental jobs or whatever. But something I wanted to ask you as far, is there, me personally, I'm thinking mass exodus of the schools would probably help.
I think so too. We are seeing a large parent group in Arlington that are wanting to start homeschool co-ops. And I think that is something, and in fact, I've seen several new groups on Facebook come up. So I would encourage to get involved in those too. I'm almost done.
There's, I'm not sure about Texas, but I know that my daughter lives in Arizona, and they can actually take the school portion of the taxes and have it, if they homeschool, they can keep it to homeschool, or if they go to a private school, they can have it sent to the private school. I mean, I don't know if they do that here in Texas.
I think Texas is not one that does it. I wish they did, and I know that there are other parents that are like speaking out that needs to be done. But
Right.
that's not happening here.
Right, because, that would, you start talking to them like that, where you're hitting their budget, then all of a sudden they'll have a change of heart.
Yeah.
Right now, they basically got you by the short and curlies.
Yeah.
So I know that in each state, that issue is different. I know when Utah, where I lived for many years, tried to get the voucher system going, and the National Association of Teachers
Shut it
bust in thousands of people for the whole time, spent millions and millions, and the public within Utah that should have been voting didn't understand why a voucher, so parents could choose where to go. It didn't pass.
Well, and that's what they've been trying to do here too, and it hasn't passed here because of that same scenario. This is just a sample agenda that you'll see when you go in, and it just tells you kind of what I just highlighted what section here that we spoke on, just so it was A1. So when you fill out the form, this is what the participation form looks like. So I put my name. I never put my full name because I didn't think it was any of their business. I just put my initials. I gave my zip code. I didn't give my address. I didn't think that was any of their business. I'm there to speak. I live here. You don't need that information. I put a number, an agenda, and then I signed it. And that's what I would turn in. So I'm just saying, speak out. I had a video here of one of our sessions, but because of time, I'm not going to play it. But if you want to see it, you can send me a Facebook messenger, it's under Rebecca Rodgers, and I can send you, so you can see how it goes, like what you do when you speak. Because that would give you an idea. Like you have 3 minutes, and it'll give you an idea of like how it is run in an actual setting. Be on time, fill out your request form, and be prepared. Time is given to address your First Amendment rights, and your grievances are 3 minutes. And then I just want to encourage you, like, let's nourish this initiative to grow. Share it with your friends. Tell them it's important to speak out now before it's too late, because we're not going to get our freedoms back if we give it away. It's going to be harder to get them back. So meet people in your communities, encourage them to get involved in their local government, show up and speak out, rally your troops and get them to school board meetings, city council meetings, commissioners meetings, all three if you can. But if you can't do all three, find what interests you and just get involved. That's all I'm saying. I am with True Tech. I work with True Texas Project also to get liaisons in to speak to their commissioners, to the city council, to the school board, to the water board, to the college level. I'm working to appoint people that are interested to be a relationship builder. Okay, we want to not always be negative. We want to also tell them when they are doing good things, but we also want to be a watchdog. And so if you're not aware of True Texas Project, go to their Facebook page and their website. They have a meeting once a month. Learn about them. If it's something you're interested in, get with me and I will help you get connected to be a liaison to work for your city. We're needing at least 1 to 2 people to be that watchdog to alert us when there is policies that are not conservative policies being introduced. We want to know about that so we can help rally the troops to get them there in numbers. So if that is something you're interested, if you're interested in knowing more about how to be a liaison, I'm a person, and I will help you. You can email me at Rodgers, that's with a D, RRODGERS _TTP @protonmail.com, and I can get you like in the process of an interview type process. We don't just appoint anyone. It's interviewed because we want to make sure, because you're a representative for TTP at that point, that you're a good fit. And so if that is something that y'all are interested in, I would like to encourage you to send me an email and we can work on getting you plugged into whichever entity that you're excited about getting involved in. And then let's just grow it together. Just get involved in your local government. That's all I ask. Don't sit blindly by and let them take our freedoms. And that's all I've got. Entertaining.